Well, we got some new polls out this morning, and it is not good for President Trump. I know I said this yesterday, but it's even worse today. Now, if you can believe these CNN polls, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on these, because, you know, they are calling likely voters on the phone through their polling system. It's so easy to just fall into that left-wing or right-wing media trap and say, Fox News, I can't believe those polls. CNN, I can't believe those polls. Our pollsters at Fox used to get so annoyed because they would explain, like, they go to great lengths to go after individuals that they're sampling on the phones that have nothing to do with what television channel they watch. They're not Fox viewers. So the people that CNN is polling are not CNN viewers. So I'm just trying to have a little bit of fairness here on these polls. So don't be one of those people, okay? Be smarter than that. And look at what this data is showing you. Because we're seeing this now in a number of polls. And the Trump administration, the reason that he's back at the White House is because they're looking at the same polls. So here's a new poll out this morning from CNN. Holy smokes. That's a 16-point lead right now. This is astounding. That's 3 points higher than the Wall Street Journal NBC poll we saw yesterday. And Biden is leading on every issue that they interviewed people about, including the economy, including crime, including safety. So if there's one thing that President Trump was hanging his hat on, it was this idea that I'm your law and order president. It's not showing up in these new polls. Every category, from COVID to the economy, from crime to safety, everything Biden is leading. So look for the Biden campaign to get a little bit more arrogant now, as this is showing that Biden's likely going to win this. 28 days until Election Day. I'm not saying it's going to happen. We could see all of these things could be wrong, right? But not likely at this point. And other areas that Trump should be really nervous about. Older Americans, an area that he had captured strongly before, are really leaving the Trump camp and going to the Biden camp. Older Americans. That's big trouble. Those people vote. Additionally, Hispanics. President Trump's support among Hispanics has eroded. They're all coming to Papa Biden, it looks like. But I think we are in for a world of hurt. Look, I think people say we're going to get rid of the crazy man, orange man bad. We're going to throw him out of the White House and we're going to get this great guy in there, Joe Biden. Everything's going to be better. What I'm trying to do is teach you here, I really believe that it's all one and the same. Wall Street is now excited about a Biden presidency. They're all in on Biden. They're basically writing the ticket now saying, we see this as a Biden victory, and that's why we're like the stock market is up, because all of the data is now showing, and they don't like uncertainty. So what they're seeing is certainty by having Biden become the president. So Wall Street's fine. Wall Street's fine. They just don't like the little uncertainty of like a president being in the hospital. Now it's back. And they're excited about a Biden presidency. Why? Because it's all one of the same thing. Vice President Biden thinks, I don't know where his head is at on the idea of a middle class. Talking about 400,000 being the threshold where taxes wouldn't increase. Meanwhile, the middle class, if there is a middle class at all, is about $68,000 in income. $400,000? How many of you make $400,000? Let me know in the chat. You think that's middle class, and yet that's way higher than where President Obama was for wanting to tax the wealthy. So Vice President Biden's idea of the middle class is totally out of touch, totally out of sync with reality. And then last night, I thought there were some really interesting moments last night during this town hall for Vice President Biden. And it just goes to show you what we're about to see. Like, if you really want some big changes in this country, I don't think you're going to see them. So this town hall last night, hosted by Lester Holt at NBC News, took place sort of at this weird, I don't know, it was like an overpass or something. I couldn't understand why they chose this thing. It was like this.
The United States of America.
Hey, that you wouldn't, some things you think would be okay.
Like there's this outdoor thing where it was hard to even hear, like traffic is going by in Florida.
Okay to hold back.
Well, only on the margins and...
Yeah, like Grover's barking in the background. Like, what the heck is this thing? You couldn't have found a better place? Here's the only place we could go.
For the moment.
An overpass.
Yes.
Some of the information.
Serious problem.
65% of Americans.
And at certain points, like trucks were driving by. Even Joe was making fun of him. He's like, hey, there goes my friend. He's honking in the background. Really? Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I know. That's what I'm saying, Joe. Can't they found a park somewhere in Florida? Couldn't they have found like a baseball diamond somewhere? Put Lester Holt out on the pitcher's mound? Have Biden sit at home plate? Answer questions? And do an overpass. But there were some really telling moments last night. I just say don't get too excited if you want to see actual change in this country, because we had a town hall meeting last night that was basically it was like Lester Holt and these audience members giving a back massage to Joe Biden, giving him softball questions like this. Take a listen to these softball questions that came in.
Vice President Biden, I work in Miami as a pediatric nurse. And since the beginning of this pandemic, the government has been dysfunctional and disorganized in their response.
Hear her, Lester.
Can't hear it.
Miami-Dade County leads the state of Florida in the number of COVID cases and deaths. And Florida just ranked number 2 in the COVID cases of children. Another larger wave is expected this fall, sir. Can you tell us what the Biden-Harris federal response plan is that would unite our country in fighting this pandemic and also any other future pandemics that may arise?
We able to hear
Thank
okay?
You, sir.
I can hear part of it. I'm sorry. The television in front of you, and I didn't catch the front.
Yeah, and we got the traffic. I mean, the meter request.
Here, let me help you out here. I'm Lester Holt. Let me help you out here. What will you do that will unite us, not divide us like this current president? Think Trump would get a question like that? I'm just saying. That's the first question of the night. What will you do that will unite us? Because we've been so divided. It's true. We have been divided. But you think this is an undecided voter? Here's your first softball question. And then Lester Holt helps out because I know we got traffic here. Well, I'm sorry, Joe. We booked this thing. We booked an underpass to do this town hall event tonight. It's the only underpass we could find. So I'm going to answer the questions for you. I'll answer it for you.
Is another larger wave expected this fall? Can you tell us what the Biden-Harris federal response plan
Yes.
that would unite our country in fighting this pandemic and any other future pandemics that will arise?
Well, first of all.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for repeating that. It's so easy. There were other missed opportunities. There were some really telling moments last night, particularly around Bernie Sanders. This was one of the last questions of the evening. And this is, well, I'll get to that in a moment. I think first, though, was an interesting moment. This is probably the only tough question Biden got last night. And it was around him being thrown off on stage by President Trump during the last debate. Like, hey, there was this really petulant child next to you yelling at you. I was worried about you. I was worried that you were off your, are you okay? This is the toughest question of the night.
I noticed that President Trump was bullying you, and I'm worried that it knocked you off your game. How do I know that you're able to forcefully lead this country moving forward when being faced with unforeseen challenges and other bullies?
Well, I'm used to bullies. I used to stutter when I was a kid. I learned how to fight. I got a nickname. They called me Shoe Leather. I was little, but they could beat me up, and I hurt them in the process. Look, I was surprised to learn that Chris Wallace said there were 158 interruptions in that debate we had. And it was just very difficult I didn't want to further demean the process of the debate by getting in a shouting match with him on the one hand, and I tried very hard, if you notice, to look in the camera and answer the questions directly, but they kept getting banged. I hope this next meeting we're going to have, it's a debate, but a town meeting we're going to have supposedly coming up, that I hope we at least have an opportunity to hear the question and answer the question directly before there's an interruption. But as I said to the president, not here, not tonight, not me. I'm not putting up with it.
That was the toughest question you got of the night. So last week you were bullied. You were bullied. And I just want to know that you can be president. Someone yells at you like that. And then Lester did a little bit of a follow-up question, but he basically still kid-gloved the whole response. You're going to have to deal with foreign leaders. You're going to have to deal with foreign leaders who are going to be bullying you, just like the president was. Are you going to be able to handle that? That's the toughest question. But here was the most telling moment of the night last night. And to me shows just how out of touch this current Democratic Party is and why they are struggling so much. I mean, the fact that Hillary Clinton wanted to point fingers at all of these other, Jill Stein and the Green Party and all of the, never, not pointing the finger at herself, not pointing the finger at her terribly run campaign. Want to blame everyone else. Jim Comey in the emails, Jill Stein for people actually voting for a Green Party candidate in Pennsylvania. Here was the question last night, specifically around the leftist. And Donald Trump's called you a leftist and a socialist. How do you respond about being compared to Bernie Sanders?
I was raised in Hialeah, Florida, and I've been living in Coral Gables for the last 20 plus years. Cuban American and Venezuelan voters here in South Florida are being targeted with messages by the Trump campaign claiming that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for the radical left and socialism and even communism. What can you tell people in my family, my friends, who are understandably concerned with that issue, that would make them feel comfortable voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
And let me just point out we have about 3 or 4 minutes left.
I look like a socialist. Look, I'm the guy that ran against the socialists. Remember, I got in trouble during the whole campaign. 20-some candidates. Joe Biden was too centrist, too moderate, too straightforward. That was Joe Biden. I have taken on the very people that, in fact, we're worried about. I've taken on the Castros of the world. I've taken on the Putins of the world. I've taken on all these dictators. I haven't cozied up to them. I'm the guy that's been straightforward with them. I'm the guy that let them know it stops here. It stops with me. It stops with me as president. I am no more a socialist or a communist than Donald Trump is. Well, I won't say it. Anyway. So they need not worry. Just look at the record. There's not one single syllable that I've ever said that could lead you to believe that I was a socialist or a communist.
Yeah, because it's such a bad thing. It's such a bad thing to be a radical. I beat 20 other candidates who all wanted to do things for the American people that we need. Your student loan debt, public college, healthcare, getting out of these foreign wars. Trillions of dollars to the defense contractors. I won't do that. I'm centrist, which means it's just code. It's just language for more of the same. More of the same. Meanwhile, I find it to be a striking strategy to be out there slamming Bernie Sanders repeatedly. I beat Bernie Sanders fair and square. I beat him. And yet Bernie spent the weekend campaigning for you. He was out campaigning for you. My question will be, how many of these quote unquote socialists wind up in his cabinet or part of his administration? Or will his entire foreign policy team, we've already seen that laid out, just bought and sold by Wall Street? Wake up. And you heard him say it. He's worried about this label. And yet when President Trump labeled him a socialist repeatedly, the poll numbers went up for Biden. I mean, look at these poll numbers. This is after the debate. This is after the debate where President Trump labeled him repeatedly as socialist. Yeah, you want universal health care for all, buddy. Biden. You want to reform police. You want free public college. You want all these radical things. Biden doesn't. But it didn't matter because people thought that was the truth. They paid attention to it, and these poll numbers reflect it. That's even more than the Wall Street Journal poll, where all of these labels people were foisting on him as this radical lefty. I'm so struck by it. No one's talking about it. And you have guys like this, Jim Jordan out there, as President Trump comes back. Trump beats James Comey, Robert Mueller, then he beats Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler, and now he beats COVID. God bless America. Oh yeah, did he? Did he really? Did he really? Or did he have access to some of the care that most Americans don't have access to? He beat COVID. 210,000 people died, though.